Hi, this is Mike, and I live in the community of Montgomery in Calgary. I want to tell you about some strange stuff that's been going on in my backyard. But to make sense of it, first of all, I have to tell you a little bit about my backyard. I share it with another guy named Mike who lives in the downstairs suite of the house that I'm renting. And it's an interesting backyard. And rather than trying to explain it to you, let me show you. It's not a great shot here, but it gives you an idea. The backyard is a location of something we've come to call Gnomeland of Montgomery. It started not that long ago, a couple of years, and over the last 2 years it's grown in size rather dramatically. And I'll do another report telling you about the latest census we did, but the numbers are quite large. Basically, there's an awful lot of gnomes that have moved in that seem to sort of like hanging out in the backyard and partying a little bit and things like that. They come in all shapes and sizes, and as you can see from the videos, are engaged in all kinds of different activities around the backyard. Now, as if that's not strange enough, I was away for a couple of weeks, and when I got back, well, you'll see, but there was this very strange feature in the middle of the backyard, and I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea what caused it. Now, you might have some thoughts about what that mark was caused by. But given the amount of strange things that have been going on in the backyard and in Gnomeland in general, a while back I installed a security camera on the garage that kind of covers the backyard. And so I went in and dug through the footage. And I don't know what you make of this, but this is one of the first images that I recovered. Now, the camera only takes still shots, but it is motion sensitive, so it picks up when something is moving around in the backyard. And I'm able to zoom in edit mode on the camera so we can get a little bit closer look at what's there. And so as you look through these series of pictures, you can see that whatever this thing was that landed rather unexpectedly on that little gnome house that was located in that section of the backyard is rather extraterrestrial. Not sure what to make of that, but the gnomes seem to notice, and you'll see this buildup of the various gnomes coming in to have a look at this, and then just keep an eye on what happens next. It is rather amazing. You may not have known that gnomes had, military tendencies. They're not known for it. They're maybe known for their magic more than anything else, but when push comes to shove, they're able to take up arms when they need to, and they were clearly uncertain as to how they were going to respond to this, so they turned out and started with a perimeter fence around the site, then added some signage to the fence, and I was rather surprised to see that there's some interesting affiliations, international affiliations with the Gnomes of Montgomery and other areas dealing with strange events. Now, clearly, whoever was in charge here decided they needed to do something to kind of clear up this little bit of backyard mayhem and to perhaps locate the evidence somewhere else, because you can see they start to bring in the heavy equipment to see about moving things along. And once I watched where they were headed, once they got moving, I had a pretty good idea where they were going, because there's a part of the garden that I haven't shown you yet that kind of fits in with what they seem to be up to here. There's an area in the Gnomeland of Montgomery where, for want of a better term, weird stuff's going on all the time. In other words, where other kind of magical and mystical creatures are arriving that seem to have bones to pick with the gnomes, and they're kind of having it out. And that's where the flying saucer in the gnome house ended up, as you can see here from this bit of footage. So this little section of the yard is surrounded by, I suppose might call them gnomes of force, armed and various things like that. And clearly the point of that is to kind of keep all of this strange mayhem kind of contained within this little section of the yard. So that's where the anomaly that made that burn spot in the backyard is currently resting. And what about the signs of the recovery activity taken up by the gnomes? Well, we'll go back and have a look and see that basically they cleaned up after themselves and left behind I'm not sure what they're supposed to be, but clearly some kind of environmental damage abatement crew of some sort. It's hard to understand gnome magic because it involves all sorts of different magical and mystical creatures and events and things like that, but that's clearly what's going on here. And As things settle out, I'll send you some updates, and we can track their progress, seeing if they can get rid of the burn patch and get that browned grass back to the green shape that it was in before. Anyway, that's the recent strange stuff that's been going on in Gnomeland of Montgomery. And I'll have some more updates for you, maybe give you a broader tour of Gnomeland and the various creatures and characters that are hanging out there, and as the Jurassic garden that it's embedded within pops out of the ground and grows this year. So stay tuned.